This channel is part of the History Hit network. Stick around to find out more.
According to the ancient tales of Ulster, King Conor had 3 palaces at a place called Owen-Macha. Well, this is Owen-Macha, and massive traces of ancient settlement have been found on that hilltop over there, and on top of another hill over there, but no one's yet had a chance to look at the middle hill. Time Team have got just 3 days. Are we going to find King Conor's 3rd palace? Started then, Phil?
Just about, Tony. Yeah.
One of the main reasons for excavating here is that this area features in a famous collection of Irish stories called the Toyne.
Yeah.
Mick, I found this bit in the Toyne that says Conor's household was very handsome. He had 3 houses, the Red Branch, the Twinkling Hoard and the Ruddy Branch.
Yeah.
And this place is called...
Creve Row, the Red Branch.
So are we going to find a palace here?
Well, we're going to try and have a good look for one.
There are marks on the air pictures here, aren't there?
There are,
Chris?
yes.
Which is why we've decided to go for this. I mean, there's a couple of parallel lines, which look archaeological, don't they?
They do, and they seem to be part of some big landscape feature that splits the whole Navan area north-south for a distance of maybe half a kilometre.
Yeah.
So it doesn't line up with any modern landscape features. It doesn't seem to be a road. It's not going anywhere in particular, so it seems to be something ancient.
These are the faint crop marks showing on the aerial pictures, which give us a good archaeological reason for digging here. They appear to be about 30 metres long and could be parallel ditches or possibly a palisaded entrance to a settlement.
I mean, that rather implies a palace or something like that, doesn't it? I mean, I thought initially we perhaps ought to be up on the hill at the top there, but it's actually too sharp a feature, so, you know, they're not likely to be built
it seems
up
to be
there.
the slopes are too steep on either side.
Yeah.
But the area of Creve Row extends beyond the hill itself into this flat land where we're working
Well,
now.
this is a much better platform here, isn't it, with this where we're opening the trench up now.
As soon as we get that...
We can't be sure which period stories like the Toyne relate to, as they were passed down through the centuries by word of mouth before being written down for the first time around the 7th or 8th centuries AD. Do you think it's just coincidence that this place is called Red Branch and that they've got the Red Branch in the Toyne?
Well, it's obviously not coincidence. There's some connection. But how far back it would go, I wouldn't like to say.
That's what we hope this trench will produce.
What do you think some romantic middle-aged monk might have thought, oh, well, this is likely to be the place where the Red Branch was, so we'll call it the Red Branch?
I think it's very possible.
Our field at Creve Row is situated here, in the middle of a massive late Bronze Age, early Iron Age landscape at Navan, just outside Armagh in Northern Ireland. And the discovery of the 2 big hilltop settlements, Haughey's Fort and Navan Fort, which date from 1100 BC to 94 BC, have prompted speculation that these could be 2 of the palaces featured in the Toyne. So according to these stories, there was this ancient kingship place called Owen-Macha.
Yes.
It was ruled over by King Conor, who had this hero called Cuchulainn.
Yes, and ruled all of what is now Ulster, basically.
And Cuchulainn went around killing virtually everybody he could.
Yes, this collection of stories, the Toyne, demonstrates the kind of cultural background of the people that lived here. It's the story of a gigantic cattle raid from Connaught by the followers of Queen Maeve, which I think is rather good. And it's an excuse for recounting all the doings of these 2 heroes and the ultimate victory of the Ulstermen.
Centred around this one place. It's a bit like
That's right.
Camelot or Troy, isn't it?
Yes, except that Camelot never really existed, whereas Owen-Macha as the royal, as possibly also the religious capital of Ulster, very definitely did. And that's the fascinating thing about this collection of stories. Unlike something like Homer's Odyssey and so on, it's much more tied in to the existing landscape. We can go and try and trace the various places that are mentioned in it.
So all this area around here is the territory of Owen-Macha.
That's right.
History Hit is like Netflix, just for history fans, with exclusive history documentaries covering some of the most famous people and events in history just for you. Our extensive catalogue of documentaries covers everything from the rise of Hannibal Barca to the illustrious treasures of King Tut. So sign up today for broadcast quality documentaries uncovering the mysteries of the ancient world. And it's not just documentaries either. We have a network of incredible history podcasts bringing you new episodes every day. Sign up now for a 14-day free trial, and Odyssey fans get 50% off their first 3 months. Just be sure to use the code Odyssey at checkout.
Well, this weekend should provide a great opportunity to explore some of the references in the Táin. But is it realistic to try and find a palace site in just 3 days? The Time Team's approach will be simply to concentrate on the archaeology that's there, to look for features that might produce evidence of new settlements, but even if not, we'll fill in some of the gaps and tell us more about what was happening in this enormous ritual landscape.
I was just looking at these 2 photographs over here, and there's something quite interesting showing up on these. There's Navan, yes, it shows up on there quite well. There's Hockey's Fort, but further west, can you see that circular field pattern there?
Oh,
just there, with a dark line coming out, which might be a continuation of a circular enclosure, a bit like Hockey's Fort. You see there's a dark line coming out.
Coming round as a line like that.
Yeah, I was looking at this other photograph, the same area.
That's a lower level one.
It is, yeah, it's a lot clearer. Look, you can see it quite dramatically there, can't you?
Gosh, yes. And you can see that you can see the shadows cast by the trees there from the low sun. So that looks as if that might be a bank in the field there, casting a shadow that way as well. That looks really rather promising, actually, doesn't it? Yes.
I mean, there is this reference to three hills in the Táin, so maybe...
Yes, everyone's sort of thinking that the third one's Creve Row in the middle, but maybe it's further out there.
Yeah, so they're equidistant.
The geophysics team will no doubt be delighted if we've got yet another site for them to deal with this weekend. In addition to surveying our field at Creve Row, they've been asked by Chris Lynn to do some work around Hockey's Fort, in the hope that we can learn more about some possible ditches which are showing up as crop marks and appear to be part of the defences of the settlement.
This landscape, and as if that wasn't enough, on this photo we've got an enclosure right out here which is as far away from Hockey's Fort, the other side of Hockey's Fort, as Hockey's Fort is from Navan, so we've made the area sort of twice as big as we were.
That's right.
Do you know about that one, Chris?
Well, we know of it as a site, but we haven't seen any such good air photographic evidence, and certainly it's a site that in the sort of research that's gone on, we've queried, what is this? Yeah. It's a place called Ballydoo. There's a Tamlacht place named near it, which suggests it might have ecclesiastical connotations, but it'll be very old.
Yeah.
But, what's the tendency sort of for, I mean, Creve Row, is that a name that's like to have been given to this area, bearing in mind the fact that the Knights of the Red Branch turn up in the Táin, or is it like to be original name? Because it bothers me.
Well, you would like to think that the name is a survival from the time when the tales...
Oh, hang on.
Oh, Phil, yeah, this Mick. Over.
You catch us at a rather exciting moment. Over.
Go on, then. What you got to tell us?
Got a teeth bully axe.
Get out. What, a Neolithic axe?
The best.
It's all Neolithic. I told you, it's all Neolithic.
Come on, what's your reaction to that then?
Super.
We're just looking at each other here, and Chris has just said super over.
What sort of condition is it in?
It's superbly ground. I mean, there's no evidence of the actual flaking left, and there's a fairly substantial chunk missing out of the blade, so I guess that's why they threw it away. Over?
The Time team are clearly excited because this is an object which you just don't find every day. But this stone axe comes from the Neolithic period, which is at least 1,000 years before the late Bronze Age, early Iron Age period we're interested in, the era when we think Connor's palaces may have existed. What's more, the axe was only found in the top soil here, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the feature we're investigating at Creve Row will turn out to be Neolithic in date. Nevertheless, the Time team still feel it's a significant find. Why?
People were able to sort of reinvest these monuments in each new age, each new generation, continue to re-sanctify them and do their own thing inside them. And it's only logical to presume that this sacred landscape had its origin in the Neolithic.
The Neolithic, I mean, in Wessex you get these huge Neolithic sacred landscapes with everything we've got here, basically.
Yes.
So the story could have been Celtic people moving into an earlier ritual.
Yeah, and I don't think people necessarily move in. I mean, you've got a landscape that might be Neolithic and Bronze Age, which goes on being used into the Iron Age, goes on being used until...
And then St Patrick arrives.
And then St Patrick arrives.
And
Armagh becomes the cathedral, and it's just a logical ritual
progression,
ceremonial centre. Yeah.
I'm so jealous of Phil. I've always wanted to find a groundstone axe.
Sometimes at first, I must admit I find it difficult to be quite so enthusiastic about a lump of stone like this. Although once it's cleaned up and Victor's finished with it, it's easier to appreciate that it's a valuable piece of archaeological evidence. But anyway, time for lunch, and I'm keen to get the discussion back to palaces and the idea that literature like the Toyn can be useful to archaeology.
The tales really give you a hint of the culture, the philosophy and the life that lies behind the archaeology, which, again, the archaeology can never do.
And I think it's difficult to treat this material, as a documentary source. It's certainly not history, it's not pretending to be.
I think we're looking for a settlement because it says there's a king's palace in that book at that point. I think that's very dangerous to try and constrain the archaeology into finding what we're specifically looking for. We've just got to look at what's there and try and understand it against whatever evidence we have for making sense of it.
Yeah, but nevertheless, in Homer, when he described the ancient palace site of Mycenae, something like that did turn up. And
yeah, but the problem with that sort of thing is that then conditions Sleeman to go and just dig up what was in Homer, and he smashes through all sorts of other material that he's not interested in to try and relate the stories to the archaeology. It would have been better to do the archaeology independently.
At the Navan Centre, which is our base for the weekend, the public can see an interpretation of the archaeology discovered here so far. In particular, the complicated sequence of occupation which has been discovered under the mound at Navan Fort. Here you can see the evidence for a whole series of large round houses which were built one after the other.
These houses had large enclosures attached to the northern sides, and they were approached by palisaded droveways. And they seem to have extended from about 350 BC down to 94 BC.
Could these Bronze Age and Iron Age houses have been the palaces of the kings of Ulster? Well, certainly some of the finds suggest that this was an important place during this time.
That's the skull of a Barbary ape, which seems to have been brought to the site in the Iron Age, and it must have come from the Mediterranean, and proves that the occupants of the site at that time were of such high prestige that they were getting gifts, in fact, fit for a king, being brought from as far away as the Mediterranean lands.
So, all of these things were excavated from here, and we're digging just across this hill here at Creve Row.
Phil! This is Ted Loughran, as a local farmer.
How do you do?
Hello, Phil. Anxious to meet you. I wanted to see how you were getting on, really, because having seen the axe, I haven't been here since this morning.
Right.
So
well, things are looking pretty good now. See, we got these nice linear feature running right the way across the site. That's the thing that they picked up on the geophysics. And the fills, we got two different fills. We got this nice stone-free material running along this side, and then on that side of the ditch, we got quite a stony fill.
Yeah.
So it's that one is resolving itself quite nicely.
And what sort of finds have come out of this?
Not a lot at the minute. I mean, we're still plenty high enough.
Yeah. I mean, this looks lovely soil to me.
It's very productive soil.
Yeah. I mean, this is what, limestone?
Limestone, yes.
Yeah.
You will get a lot of that in this area. Like the country is just peppered with limestone.
Right. Yeah, it's almost as if they've gone for this area because there's
yes,
good
no
land.
question they would have chosen this area deliberately because of the productive quality of the soil.
Yeah.
And then originally, like, it would have been in the church hands, and any ground that was in church hands was always well looked after.
Right.
That's good.
Any road, come and have a look at the other trench. It's very similar, actually.
Yeah.
In both of our trenches here, we found evidence of what appear to be parallel ditches, but at this stage it's too early to say what they might be. Curiously though, this second trench has started producing finds associated with metalworking.
See, that's the bottom of the furnace, isn't it?
Oh, one of these blooms.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? It is indeed. But we've got no idea of knowing the date of this, although except presumably it's not recent, is it? It's not going to be in the last couple hundred years.
Oh God, no, I shouldn't have thought so.
Yeah.
No.
And this bit with knobbles on it.
Yeah.
So the mystery continues in our two trenches at Creve Row, while at Hoffy's Fort, which is the field on top of the hill in the distance, we now have a new excavation underway. It's to test our geophysics results. These show what might be the remains of a gateway linking the fort with another contemporary monument in this landscape, a Bronze Age sacrificial pool rather strangely named the King's Stables.
Have you got anything out of this yet, you chaps? Anything coming out?
Nothing at the moment.
No flints or anything like that?
No, we have one piece of flint, but it's natural flint at the moment. It's come out.
Right. So we've obviously got to go.
We've got to, I'm afraid, bash on into this.
Get down there, yeah.
The geophysics team have moved on and are now busy surveying the site at Ballydew that was spotted by Stuart, and they hope to have some results for us tomorrow. From the air, it's easy to see the C-shaped field hedge that seems to continue as an earthwork forming a possible enclosure like this. Is this our third palace settlement? Well, hopefully we'll find out tomorrow, but having chosen to work here as well, it does mean that we're now stretched between Ballydew and Navan, over a mile away.
Continuing with the two trenches at Creve Row, right, Phil?
It's a lot of work you're mounting up, but carry on here.
This is digging there, right?
Oh, fair enough.
That's not work at all.
It's the end of day one, and as you can see, there's this vast amount of things which we could possibly do. Everyone seems really exhausted and a bit dispirited, quite honestly. I think it's something to do with the fact this is a massive site. It's by far the biggest thing that time teams ever had to tackle. Just getting from over here to over there seems to take half the day, and so it's very difficult to know what everyone else is doing, and there's all these little bits of evidence which are like bits of a jigsaw that don't fit together. I think I'm going to suggest pretty soon that we have a bit of a breather and think about it tomorrow morning. There's this great bit in the Toyne that says, the men of Ulster were with Connor in Evanmacha one time, drinking from a big vat. It could hold 100 measures of coal black drink, enough to fill all the men for the whole evening at one sitting. I think I'm going to suggest that we try a bit of that coal black drink. See you after the break. Day two, and the first excitement of the day comes from our new site at Ballydew, where the geophysics team have found clear evidence of a ditch which is following the line of the earthwork first spotted by Stuart.
So in fact, basically our results are fitting in with the crop mark evidence and also completing the circuit, we think, as well.
And this stuff here?
Well, that's the
Is that this mound?
It is this mound.
You see, there's quite an obvious lump there as well.
You see,
on the end here.
Yeah.
It almost looks like a ploughed out barrow or something like that, you know.
I mean, I thought that was natural when we came in the field.
Well, it might be.
It may well be. But the thing is, it is situated right in the enclosure.
I think, you see, that the possibility with this is that it might be the third site in this line.
My third palace?
Well, it could be. I mean, even if it isn't, it's another part of this complex landscape. You know, it might be contemporary Navan. I mean, it could be another fort, it could be another enclosure of some sort. But this looks too important to just walk away from there.
Well,
it's
completely unexpected, I think.
Where would we dig the trench? I mean, as a punter, I must say I would want to have a look and see what was on that little knoll.
Well, but you see, in terms of dating it, we might be better somewhere in the ditch where there's going to be stratified stuff down below, and that will give us the date it was built. If we could get a trench somewhere that combined the two, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But in a way, we need the resistance done first so that we can see, you know, how that fits in. Hang on, I've got one as well.
So if this turned out this could turn out to be the third hill, couldn't it?
Try this
one,
Tony, look. This
that's far too complicated for me. All right.
It's nice and coloured though, you see. There's Navan.
Yeah.
There's Creve Row that we're digging at. There's Hockey's Fort.
Yeah.
And there's this one.
So maybe this is nothing, and is just called Red Branch because someone at some later date thought that it might be the Red Branch Hill, and those three could actually be the hill.
That's the possibility. There's nothing else quite like this round here. You know, it's not that we've picked one of a selection. The next sort of things are miles away.
So what we need now is permission. The arrangement so far is just for geophysics here. But how will the farmer feel about us digging a large hole in his field? We've just geophysed the field, or rather, Chris has. And as you can see, we've found this strange-looking ditch thing round it, and also evidence of something under that little lump just behind you there. And we wanted to ask you a big favour, which is if we could dig an exploratory ditch somewhere.
That's okay. No problem.
Okay.
Well, that was easy, wasn't it?
We thought you might say no. You know, cows coming in or something.
Not even a struggle.
Obviously, we'd fill it all in. By using a different geophysical technique called resistivity, targeted on just one strip of the field, the geophysics team hope to quickly produce a more detailed picture of the archaeology underground, which will help us put our trench in the best possible place. Robin, meanwhile, has gone to the Archbishop's Library in Armagh and is hoping to find the origins of some of the place names we're investigating this weekend.
Oh, I see, yes. It's got this site of Navan, basically. This is 1819, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yes. The ruins of Awan are visible in O'Flaherty's day and were spoken of by Colgan and by Camden, who corrupts the name. There is a townland near the Navan Hill, which is yet denominated Creve Row. That's the earliest reference I found to it being named as such, which in English letters expresses the very sound designated in the Irish characters, the Red Branch. And then he goes on, there is an adjoining townland called Tray. Now that is what I think we're looking at as far as Hockey's Fort is concerned. A mound which in form resembles this figure and is universally denominated the King's Stables. Oh, that's interesting. So they're referring to the mound as the King's Stables rather than the artificial pond, which we're also looking at.
Well, I suppose it is possible that a mistake could have been made by someone while drawing up a new map of this area, and it would certainly explain how the sacrificial pool called the King's Stables got such a peculiar name. There are, in fact, two ritual pools in this landscape, the second being Loch Nashard, which is located here and is associated with Navan Fort. Amazingly, it still survives, despite the quarrying around it, and it was here that 4 bronze horns were found in the 1790s. This is a replica of one of them, and although it dates to the Iron Age, it clearly shows how sophisticated bronze working had become.
As you can see, it's beautifully made, 2 tapering cylinders of bronze, carefully riveted together with a beautiful semicircular curve, and then this great sort of end piece decorated in the sort of Celtic Lot 10 style, also welded onto the end of the horn.
You feel it. It's wafer thin. Thin, isn't it?
So
it's all been beaten out into a very, very thin sheet of bronze, and then this beautiful pattern beaten into it.
Using the same primitive technology, we thought it would be interesting to put on a demonstration to show the kind of effort and skill that would have gone into making something like this. However, Cormac, our bronzesmith, has complicated matters somewhat by deciding that he'll only speak in Gaelic.
Yeah. And that's been...
Búltamach leis an cosúr.
What? Now hang on,
Sin cosúr. Hammer.
Hammer. I was going to say, I think you understand me, but I don't seem to understand you. What are we making then?
It's a disc.
A disc?
A disc, yeah. Agus fóragus stig a loch na séide. An sin.
So basically then we're making this bit.
Uh-huh.
So how big's this going to be?
So
we're going to come... Well, it's got to be beaten out quite a lot yet then.
Yeah. A lot of work.
And that's been put in the furnace?
Yeah, tin.
What, just lay it in, do you? Or work it down in amongst the embers? Just stick it down in amongst the embers?
Yeah,
good old heat in there, isn't there? Well, I assume you're just saying put it down in amongst the embers, yeah. And how would that take long to heat back up again?
No, not really, no.
Pretty immediate, is it?
Yeah. Maybe a Hey? So that's how stop it. You can stop. And,
Oh, you can
and
stop?
Take it out. Yeah. have a rest.
Hey, you're a local chap. Do you understand what he says?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not all the time.
Ah, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's in the dark about it, that's for sure. Any road, let's see you beat out a bit more of it then.
Cormac will spend the rest of today beating the metal to the right thickness and size, ready for the decoration to be added tomorrow. At our original site at Creve Row, life is not only quieter, but progress is faster. Trench 1 has nearly uncovered the bottom of the ditch and has started to produce important finds.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's bone remains coming out,
Okay,
and
really?
we're also getting, I mean, most interesting of all is this piece of pottery. Yeah, it's a club rim, coarse handmade. Sure.
What sort of date do you reckon?
Well, I mean, conventionally we would probably put this at late Bronze Age, as
So
well as
do you think
the
this
bone.
is domestic stuff?
Well, this looks like domestic debris that's
this
found
is
its way
settlement rather
into
than
the.
ritual
Yeah, so
here,
that, I mean,
yeah.
the material has found its way in from a settlement close by.
This is a reconstruction of that bit of pottery. It comes from a late Bronze Age cooking pot, but it's very different to the finds coming out of our second trench at Creve Row.
Yeah.
There's another piece of pottery. It's just come out of this other one.
Oh.
Um,
That's a
very thin
slightly
wall.
better made piece than the other bit, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's substantially later than that one, unfortunately.
Oh,
That
what
would
sort
probably
of date,
mean
you
that.
reckon?
Well, I mean, it could be averted rimware, which would mean that it's early medieval.
This bit of medieval pottery would probably have come from a pot that looked like this. But it means that we now have two pots coming from parallel ditches which come from periods almost 2,000 years apart. So even though we started work here first, we still have a mystery on our hands at Creve Row. However, the geophysics team have extended their survey and have a theory about what might be happening.
This is where you're digging now. These black marks are where the high readings came up and we put the trenches across there. But they reckon there might be an enclosure which comes round like that. And they're particularly interested in this circular structure here, which is about 12 metres across and could be, well, either a ring ditch of a burial mound or a hut circle. We could perhaps put a trench across that, see if it's really there, see what it is. Well, so if you can get that measured out on the... I'll leave you with the geophysics plot, okay?
We can't afford scissors.
The workload for the geophysics team this weekend is immense. While half of them have been concentrating on Creve Row, the rest have been hurrying to give us some resistance data for Ballydu.
We've surveyed the same area with the resistance. And I mean, the really exciting thing, we seem to be getting a second ditch inside.
It's even clearer than the first ditch,
I mean, it is very clear on that. So, I mean, if we have got two ditches, that will be really good. So they've decided to put the trench at right angles to both of them.
So we should get both ditches in the
Well, I
trench.
hope we will.
So with more geophysics information to guide us, our first trench gets underway at our new site, Ballydu. Hopefully, this excavation will discover not only the ditches, but also dating evidence to prove that this could have been a Bronze Age or Iron Age palace site. Meanwhile, on the next hill along, at Hohi's Fort, our excavation has achieved everything it set out to do. Not only has it found evidence of the gateway linking Hohi's Fort with the King's Stables, but we've also started to find bits of late Bronze Age pottery.
This is our first bit then, is it?
Yes, that's the
Brilliant.
first piece there.
Oh, wow.
That pottery is dating to about 1100
Yeah.
BC. That's the typical
That
bucket
is
shaped courseware
brilliant.
pottery from here.
Brilliant.
This piece comes from the rim of a pot which would have looked like this and confirms that the gateway is late Bronze Age in date and contemporary with Hohi's Fort.
Here we have this sort of coarse metal surface, which we
Yeah.
think is some sort of walkway.
That's what we were saying earlier on, and that looks very, very good now, doesn't it?
Yes, and this with the ditch starting to terminate here,
Yeah.
and we are picking up something else in the corner here until that is removed.
And you got natural again on the other side.
Yes, with the possible evidence of small stake hole, post hole came up, and we haven't fully excavated there, but we'll see that this year's delineating the walkway itself in the trench.
That's brilliant.
This will be great news for Chris, because the discovery of a gateway here in the middle ditch of Hohi's Fort strengthens the idea of a connection with the sacrificial pool at the King's Stables. So you reckon there would have been people standing around here and lobbing stuff
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to make an offering, you want to make a bit of a splash and call attention to the fact that this is what you're doing.
How do we know this is Bronze Age, though, Chris?
Well, we know because 20 years ago we had an opportunity to do a little trial trench just on the edge of it.
Right.
And we found Bronze Age sword moulds, fragments of red deer antlers, masses of chopped twigs, the facial part of a human skull, and the forequarters of a dog, which had evidently been thrown in intact. And this is a little trench, which is only really about 1% of the whole area of the monument. We also got charcoal from a little cross section through the bank around the edge of the thing, and that again dated to about 1000 BC. So everything tied up very, very neatly indeed.
So it suggests the hole and the bank are being built around about that
And you get
time.
the same conjunction of water and fire.
That's right.
That you get at Navan.
Yeah.
And if we're right, and we've got a little exit to his fort here, leading down to this pool, it really ties the fort in with the pool.
You can imagine these processions.
So now, not only can Victor recreate a picture of how this sacrificial pool might have looked around 1100 BC, but he can also add a reconstruction of how one of the gateways could have looked to the people in the Bronze Age as they passed through it on their way from Hoffy's fort to the king's stables at the bottom of the hill. Meanwhile, at our new site, Ballydew, Stuart is excited about a discovery he's made while surveying the existing field boundary.
It gets narrower at the bottom.
Is this all stuff the farmers hiked out of the fields, presumably, isn't it?
This is really what I want you to look at before I get any further. Have you seen on this boulder here?
Oh, crikey.
You've seen this very right sweeping curve coming to a right angle.
Yeah.
It's mirrored by this one here. And it's been broken off here.
It has, yes.
How do you think about it as prehistoric rock art?
I mean,
it is a carved stone.
It's a carved stone, isn't it? I mean, that is incredible,
no
isn't it?
I think.
It is.
I mean, you're happy with it being a carved
stone?
stone?
Oh, yes.
No doubt about
It's
that.
not a
Is
Christian symbol of any description, is it?
Not at first glance. No, it doesn't remind me of anything at all.
It's prehistoric, doesn't it?
That's incredible.
It's a lovely find.
Significant, though, Chris, or what do we do?
It must be significant, but I mean, are we looking at a stone which is directly associated with the site?
Yeah.
Or is it an older stone which the builders of this happen to incorporate in it?
Yeah. Well, can I give you my
Right, okay.
You see all this stone that we're standing on just here?
Yep.
It just occurs here in a swathe.
Yeah.
And I wondered if it's been ploughed. The farmer's got rid of it because he's been ploughing this field.
He's ploughing into something up here, perhaps?
Yeah, something just over there.
Some stone monument or building.
Like a stone monument or a cairn, a burial mound, perhaps. He's just dumped it in the ditch.
I mean, it's a silly question, Stuart, but presumably you've looked through the rest, have you?
Well, this was the first thing I got to, and I got so excited about it that, I mean, really...
This is the location of Stuart Stone, and it's an indication that this could be a really ancient site. But as the end of the day approaches, we've yet further developments as a piece of metal is discovered in our trench here at Ballydew.
What might be the stone wall or stone revetting, isn't it? I mean, it looks as if this might be a stone wall of a clay bank at the moment.
It's curved. You see that?
Yeah.
And you can even sort of, goes in like that.
Yeah. Can you clean that up a bit more so we can see?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to take anything out, do you?
I want to be very, very careful. I will.
Is that a bit more of it there?
This is clearly a job which will have to be left till tomorrow. All we have time to do now is to take a look at the latest refined geophysics results for Ballydew, which seem to show evidence of buildings here.
I mean, there seems to be almost a hexagonal shaped feature there.
Yeah.
We need to do some more processing. I've sort of highlighted it on there for those that don't believe what we're pointing out.
This hexagonal shape indicates that what we're unearthing here might be a later settlement. And if that's the case, then I've got to hope that tomorrow we can find an Iron Age palace underneath.
A lot of features. And if we were talking earlier about some sort of ecclesiastical or religious complex, perhaps early Christian, then, that sort of noise would probably fit with monastic enclosure or something like that.
Usually a massive activity around even buildings changing site, things overlapping and ditches, paved areas, graves, anything.
Yeah, I mean it's another high status site in a landscape full of high status sites of different dates. So it rather fills in the story, doesn't it?
And convinces big hills.
I was going to say you're after being the king's residence. So
Yeah. But it does show you that the Irish loved finding bumps and doing things on top of them, doesn't it?
Should we go then?
Yeah, that's good.
So, end of day 2 and the finish of what's been a fantastic day. Still a lot to do tomorrow, but everybody seems really up and only too keen to join Tommy McCree for a ceilidh at his house to celebrate progress so far. I think we're going to be here for a few hours yet. See you after the break. Slanisha. Day 3, and while Cormac prepares his furnace for a final day's bronze working, out at our original site, Creve Row, there have been a few developments to catch up on. Firstly, the news that both of the ditches are now thought to be of the same date. This ditch is essentially Bronze Age or earlier, like the one parallel to it. But we got confused at one time and thought it was medieval because we were pulling out medieval finds when the dig got down to about here. And the reason is because of all this black stuff. What happened was that the medieval people dug a little pit or whatever and appeared to have chucked their waste stuff in here, which was why we were getting medieval finds out. But when we dug lower, we found the bottom edge of this medieval pit, and then the old ditch continued. So the ditch itself is very, very old, and we were just confused by this little black curve here. So that's that mystery solved. But it now seems we have a new problem, which stems from the fact that we have two sets of geophysics results. One which shows two so-called linear ditches continuing to the bottom of this field, and another which shows one ditch curving off around a possible settlement area. A decision has to be made quickly to work out how many trenches we need to dig here to sort this out. But we have disagreement in the camp.
I take John's point, but I suppose on a broader scale, if I was going to sort of dig this area, I'd say, you know, you put one over the core settlement and maybe put one over
when we know that the ditch is clearly on the magnetic
This is
block.
dissent in the geophysics team, you know. We don't very often get this,
what we're
do
trying
we?
to do is save the archaeologists' work. One trench here on this putative settlement will solve the question. The geophysics is clear. We've got two ditches running across the field. The only difference is the fill of the ditch at this point is different. We think it's different because you've got settlement at this point.
Yeah.
So why put a trench down there?
Chris, can we borrow you for a minute? Well, if we carry on like this, we won't have time to dig any trenches at all. What does Chris Lynn think?
Yeah,
I'm happy that it's the same ditches.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt it's the same ditches.
There'll be the same date up there.
But weren't we just digging a trench across there to confirm that they were the same ditches?
But it's clear on the geophysics, Mick.
Well, are you happy with that?
Yes, I'm happy with that. I mean, again, it's the logistics of the last day.
So at last our third trench at Creve Row gets underway to investigate the area geophysics believe might contain evidence of a settlement. Meanwhile, at our new site, Ballydoo, work has started to excavate the mystery metal object.
What is it? What's going on?
Well,
Some sort of a metal
iron
plate.
Oh, I see, yes.
Not sure it is actually, but yes.
What we've got to do is we've got to clear away all the spoil around it, and we want to see whether or not it's actually sitting on top of the stones. If it's sitting on top of the stones, it could be quite recent and just moved its way down. But if it's actually buried in the stones, that's a lot more significant.
It could indicate then something quite ancient.
Yeah.
It's slow, delicate work, which means we'll have to wait a while before we know what this item is. But meanwhile, we have another find in this trench.
Well, you got something interesting.
Yep, very interesting.
Oh, wow. Here. What is it, do you know?
It looks like lignite.
Lignite?
Yep.
What's lignite when I sit on? We don't get that round where I come from.
Well, it's a sort of a halfway house. It's almost a coal type.
Yeah?
Stone.
Yeah?
It was used quite a bit in the early Christian period.
Yeah?
In Ireland for bracelets and rings and that type of thing. It would appear that this is.
And you gotta, I mean, it occurs naturally round here, does it?
Yes.
Right. Does this stuff need conserving, or does it?
No.
It's perfectly robust on its own right, is it?
Yes, it's okay.
That's good.
Back at the Navan Centre, Cormac is making good progress too. He's thinned out the bronze to the right size and can now prepare to add the La Tène design. The discovery of our broken lignite bracelet in a good stratified context means that we can now date our settlement at Ballydu. This is a bracelet which we know would have been worn around 800 to 1200 AD. So this changes everything. It looks like we've got an early Christian site at Ballydu. But I don't mind giving up the idea of a palace here if what we're finding is equally as exciting. And it is, because apparently it's very rare to find an early Christian settlement outside of Armagh, and even rarer to find one we can excavate because it doesn't have a church or graveyard on top of it. So we must press on here and learn more about it, and hurry with our second trench, which is targeted at investigating the hexagonal feature discovered by geophysics. Meanwhile, at Creve Row, our original site, we may have a Bronze Age settlement after all.
Well, it's a bit unclear. That was quite a nice line coming down like that. And then... Oh. That looks a bit post-holy, doesn't it? Yeah. Because, yeah, we've still got the edge of this feature coming back here, yeah, so we've got a line coming along sort of like that. A possible post hole. I wonder if that might be
another one?
Another post hole in that case, where the edge waves a bit there.
So once again, last-minute excitement and a race against the clock on the final day. But back at Ballydu, our early Christian site, the metal object has been revealed, and it's a horse spur and dates to the medieval period, about 1500 to 1600 AD. It doesn't help with the dating of this site, but it's nonetheless a nice find and makes a change from the usual bits of pot. Meanwhile, our second trench at Ballydu is progressing nicely, despite the occasional interruption.
A little bracelet down in the other trench.
Has this anything to do with the Navan Fort?
Well, that's what we thought. That's why we came here to dig. And then all of a sudden, it's a later site. It's an early Christian site.
And my friend wants to be an archaeologist and from Kerry. Murphy.
Could you have any ideas for the giver?
Just to make sure you like muck.
Muck and worms. If you can stand the worms, you're okay.
I like worms.
Well, we could certainly do with some help, because there's still lots to do. Phil's in a hurry to help with the recovery of the rock art because he thinks he's got to go and help Carenza with the excavation of the post holes. But the latest news from Creve Row isn't good.
Well, we had this this is supposed to be where this hut circle was. We had no sign of the hut circle at all. We had this long linear feature coming through that. We reckon it's a lazy bed.
That's where they were digging for their taters, isn't it?
Yes. We haven't even found any potatoes. The post holes that you were sent over to help us with, as you can see, they only go down an inch. But
well, you reckon were the stones ripped out
I
or
think
something?
so, yes, yeah, quite. And we've had no finds out of it apart from the odd bit
Well,
of
this is terrible news. No palace at Creve Row either. But on a more positive note, Cormac has just about finished the decorative disc. It's taken 2 days solid hard work just to make one piece of the Iron Age horn. So considering the time and effort that would have gone into making the complete bronze instrument, it seems hard to believe that people could then have thrown it into a pond as a sacrifice. This disc, once it's polished up, will go on display here at the centre. But as the end of the day approaches, it's time to review the archaeology discovered this weekend, beginning with our original site at Creve Row. So all that massive debate this morning about where we should dig the trenches.
I think we took the wrong option. We had 5 options, and the one we took has taken us really no further forward. We haven't proved there was any settlement. The pottery that came, the domestic pottery we had that came out of that trench has come from sort of one small feature in the trench that's later than the ditch.
And remind me again what was in the one trench that we dug today?
Potato trench, a potato.
It's great. It's
Potato
very interesting. My sort of archaeology.
It wasn't my idea.
I shouldn't really have a go at Carenza, because this was one trench we had to dig. It could have been evidence for Connor's palace. And we do have a real success here at Creve Row in Trench 1. It's given us the dating evidence, which tells us that these ditches are contemporary with the other major monuments in this ritual landscape.
And it's what?
You can see that dark patch just there.
So it was already beginning to silt up.
Yeah, it was silted up at least to here, and possibly because it's this lens shape, it looks as if it may have been cut into the ditch when it's silted up to perhaps that sort of level.
So
and then cut into that. But we got no pottery at all out of any of the rest of this, which is the same, in fact, as that ditch, where we've had no Bronze Age pottery out of it. So they're looking very similar, except in the history of what happened to them after they were dug.
But I mean, this is great for us because this double ditch feature could have been relatively modern. Until just yesterday and today.
Yeah.
So
I keep hearing these words double ditch feature. Can we be a bit braver about what that might mean? I mean, are we talking about a road with a ditch on each side, or a fortification, or what?
I think more likely a sort of so-called linear earthwork with, say, we'll say a bank.
It's a landscape feature going across the landscape, probably enclosing an area, maybe separating off Navan from this part of the landscape, maybe going around this boggy area where King's Stables is. It's some sort of a big feature designed to divide up the landscape, or enclose it, or maybe even keep people out of bits of it. That's what we mean by it, and it's a double ditch feature because it's got 2 ditches.
Thanks to the geophysics work here, we know that these double ditches stretched across this field and beyond, although more work will be needed to find out where they stop. This is Victor's reconstruction of the double ditches, based on the few other examples of this type of earthwork in Northern Ireland. Originally, it would have had a slight bank in between, but it's likely that at Creve Row this has been ploughed away. At our second site, Hohi's Fort, the work here today has revealed more post holes, which run in a line alongside the metal walkway. But our work here this weekend has been an evaluation exercise, and now that the gateway has been discovered, a longer and fuller excavation will be planned for later in the year. But what can we say about our early Christian site at Ballydu? Well, our first trench here discovered the evidence for the bank and ditch which would have enclosed the settlement. It also produced nice finds like this medieval spur, which once would have looked like this. And of course, our dating evidence, our lignite bracelet, came from this excavation too. But what about the other trench dug here today? Why didn't we dig this middle bit?
Well, because the geophys boys, they saw something else. And so we thought we'd home in on that. And it appeared to be a hexagonal sort of building. And what we did was we just put a trench across it, and we've got part of the wall here. But the interesting feature of this is that there's a lot of occupation soil just on the outside of it. And from this we got a blue glass bead. That's the bead.
Isn't that wonderful? It kind of beats things like little bits of pottery, doesn't it? You suddenly get an impression of a real human being wearing something
Well, that's
like this.
locally made. Again.
Is it?
Again, 600 there and about 900 or thereabouts. Ties in well with the lignite.
Drop that at your peril.
Yeah. So, how would you describe what we've found?
Well, I think you found what seems to be the edge of a very large and very significant early Christian period running into the medieval period site. I mean, it's 110 metres in diameter, and I mean that is absolutely enormous compared to the usual ring forts of the period, which are sort of 30 to 40 metres. So, I mean, it is a site of you know, immense prestige.
So it could be a palace, but it certainly doesn't belong to Connor.
You know, certainly not doesn't belong to Connor, although I'm sure that tales about Connor were current and were told in a place like this, whether it was ecclesiastical or secular at this time.
The settlement we found evidence for could, of course, be secular. But given its position in an area of religious significance, we feel it's more likely to have been a monastic enclosure. This, then, is Victor's reconstruction based on the archaeology and geophysical evidence, informed by a knowledge of other sites of this date. Of course, there's still masses of work to be done here, as there is all across this huge ritual landscape. I, for one, would love to know what's under the mound in this field. And I'm sure Stuart and Victor would like to know where the rock carving originated from. Victor's tried to make some sense of it by interpreting it as a deer. And Mick's made the point that future work here may still reveal a prehistoric site under the Christian one. So, all right, maybe we haven't found one of Connor's palaces, but you never know, maybe some 11th century monk, when he was writing his part of the Toyne, saw Navan Mound and saw his fort and saw some ruins here, and that was the inspiration that led him to write the part of the story that said that Connor had 3 palaces. You never know.